Alright everybody, welcome back to Armies on Parade. Today we're doing a range review for the Eldar, and this is part 1 of part 2. So this is mostly going to be the infantry.
Hi, I'm Marcus.
I'm Matt, and I'm the foremost expert in Eldar, because I bought them when I was 12.
You do own an Eldar army, which makes you more qualified to talk about how cool they are compared to us. Opening thoughts on Eldar, guys?
They start with an E, not an A. They're Eldar, not Eldari.
GW rebranding schemes aside, we will be calling them Eldar.
I think they're one of the coolest examples of space elves, where they actually have unique stuff and aren't just elves in space. They've got a really bunch of cool aesthetics. It's a shame that they're always complete scumbags in the meta and everyone hates them, because they're super cool.
Coming from a gameplay perspective, man, I hate Eldar. Have they done just terrible things to whatever meta they've touched forever?
Forever.
They usually have the narrative that you need to be good to make them broken, but it's usually not that hard to make them broken. They're very cool. It's one of those things that I don't like them on the table. Man, I can't deny they have an amazing range. I say it
Yeah.
begrudgingly.
A lot of their old stuff really stands the test of time.
The tanks are a good example of that, right?
Yeah, the tanks are amazing still.
I think like I'm not sure of what they're called. I can never remember the Eldar tank names, even though they're a menace every
Viper,
time.
Wave Serpent,
Yeah,
Fire Prism.
yeah. That kit is from like 2003. It may have gotten like a refreshed box or something, but the kit itself is really old, and it still holds up really well. And I think it is, to your point, Matt. I think it is really good that Eldar, they're elves in space, right, quote unquote. But they are extremely unique. They have their own sort of faction history to make them so much more than just elves in space, which I really appreciate. All right, well, let's jump into the actual range review here. First, we're going to be doing the HQs. This first model is the Avatar of Khaine.
Jobber of Cain. Do I just repeat all my funny jokes?
Yeah, for those watching this is a second take because I failed to press record after Marcus got back from a phone call he had to take. So we're going to be repeating a lot of stuff from that first episode over again.
I don't even remember my funny jokes. I definitely called him a jobber.
Yep.
There's a video where a bunch of Marines shot him for like 10 seconds and he just kind of stood there groaning and it was really funny.
Okay, check.
Check. Way better than the old Avatar. Like some of the old stuff still stands. The old Avatar does not. Old Avatar really showing his age. This new one is pretty sick. We mentioned last time the base could use a little work. The base is kind of underwhelming for how ridiculously sweet this guy is.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially after coming from Krieg. And it's not truly fair because I think we just didn't have high expectations for out of the box basing from GW for a long time. And then Krieg happened, so it's just opposite of rose tinted glasses, it's shit tinted glasses.
But I think this is a super sick model. Like it really is doing it justice.
Yeah, it's a good kit. Like I said, it's not often you get, again, it's monopose, but at the same time, like good options, face options, different head options altogether.
Yeah, and I think the main thing with the old Avatar of Khaine that's really kind of been crept is the size. This guy
Oh my god,
is
yeah.
he's very imposing on the tabletop. He's very tall. The old Avatar Khaine is like at his waist in terms of size.
Yeah, he's a little dwarf, a little shrimpy guy.
I do like the old metal models. I'm a sucker for metal.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the heft of it I like. I do like those old models, and if the Avatar of Khaine that you have, if we painted that up and we used it as a proxy for this guy, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I think it has a lot of charm and appeal still. But to your point, they really did an excellent job on this model. The individual sculpt details with his muscles, his little innie belly button, which
Little
was
Innie there.
yeah, I think I made that joke last time we talked about this. Yeah. I'm glad we re-recorded it just to get that tee hee hee though. That's a cute little detail.
Oh, my funny story about how when we first started playing 40k in 3rd edition, my Avatar Kane walked over and sliced my brother's Predator tank in half. And then the Predator tank rolled to explode and then scattered dice and landed on top of it and did like 6 mortal wounds and killed my Avatar instantly.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
this is the best game ever made.
That was to the soundtrack of Yakety Sax.
Slowly walking across the battlefield and then blew himself up, killing a single tank.
Slipped on a banana peel. I mean, it is a really sick model. I think the artist did an amazing job. I don't think it would be that difficult to get a good paint job like this. There's some detail in here that would be kind of difficult maybe to glaze on this heat effect.
You got to get the glow.
Yeah, but you could do like an opposite or a backwards kind of zenithal on it, where you base coat him with these yellowish fire colors, and then you paint on the stone on top, just in the raised areas, and you get that glow effect underneath. I don't know how that would look. I've never actually done that, but theoretically that could be a good way to go about it. And a lot of the rest of this stuff is just painting surfaces this year, and then getting these details blocked in, I think is the same situation. But he's a centerpiece, so you probably want to spend a good bit of time on him, and I think if you do spend a good bit of time on him, he'll look very good. Well, let's keep moving here. This next model is Eldrad Ulthran, Farseer for the Craft World Ulthway.
He is perfectly fine. I think for someone as important as him as the lore, or probably not that important for as much as he kind of writes himself out, it's hard to tell he's a special character, quite honestly. He definitely looks like a cooler Farseer, but I don't even say cooler. He has some extra stuff. He has a cool wand. He has a cool sword, but I think a lot of it is just his helmet not being different enough from the non-name characters.
Yeah, I mentioned I'm like an old Eldar player. Eldrad was cracked back in the day. He's an iconic figure. I mean, in terms of the lore, he's been around since the Emperor, all that cool stuff. But if you compare him to the Primarchs, Lionel Johnson pops off as a model for the Dark Angels. Eldrad is just a slightly cooler Farseer, I guess. But I think Farseers are cooler with the Singing Spear, so even then, I actually don't know if I'd call him cooler than a normal Farseer. I definitely think that if he gets like a re-release, they need to show him some love. I'm not super up to date with lore, but I'm pretty sure he's currently the most important Eldar because the Ynnari just slipped on their own like faces and died or something. They're completely pointless.
We talked about this last time we went through this, but I thought it'd be maybe a decent idea to take his helmet off and have him like cradling his helmet, and then giving him like a Gandalf-esque head option where it's like long flowing hair where you can see his age.
Give him like an introspective pose. Plans within plans. He's wise. He can see, 10,000 years in the future and still f it up.
Exactly.
Because he's Eldar.
Exactly. And introspective is exactly how I would describe it.
Yeah. The Rodan, make him naked, perched on a stone.
Yeah.
Pin on his fist.
Yeah. Not a stone, but a dead Chaos Space Marine. Definitely a more subdued pose. Let's keep moving here. This next model is Asserman.
Asman 9000.
This guy's a stupid Power Rangers villain.
Oh, yeah.
This stupid little triangle symbol hanging next to the same triangle symbol on his loincloth.
Yeah. Well, that's how they put this on here. They just spray painted this.
The same thing, almost. I don't like him. Dire Avengers already are kind of suffering from the problem of they're just slightly cooler Guardians, I guess. And this guy is, well, he's got a bigger helmet than Dire Avengers. He's got 2 guns strapped to his arms, I guess.
Yeah, the handguns, that's what does it for me. That's why I love this model. Because of the poo-poo pose, the pew-pew-pew-pew as he punches forward.
You should put those guns in the air, though. He's definitely shooting those guns 90% of the time in the air. It's a dumb model, but it has personality. There's a lot of stuff wrong with this model. But one, it's funny. It's not cool. Like, this is a guy who's like, I lead the guys that just shoot slightly better. He's just compensating for something.
Last time we talked about this, we talked about Marnius Calgar and the scene from Space Marines 2 where he jumps off of the plane and lands. You stand on top of the hill as an Ultramarine, and there's just swarms of enemies coming at you, and the whole thing is very ridiculous. And we said, well, what would it be like if this was, instead of Tyranids or instead of Thousand Suns, it was this guy? And I said, in response to that, I would love that. That would be awesome. To me, this guy is ridiculous, right? But he's very cool in the sense that he's distinct. He's got a very unique silhouette. He is what he is, and he's toned up to 11 of what he is. And yes, he's a Power Rangers guy. Yes, he has ridiculous weapon options. Yes, his helmet is stupid. Yes, a lot of the stuff that's going on with his banner and his me obsession is stupid and ridiculous as well. But all of that sort of endears him to me more than it turns me off from him. So, I don't know. Maybe
I just can't see him in motion. I remember Dawn of War 2, I think it was, had the opening cutscene or whatever it was, Blood Ravens versus the Eldar. And there's this one part where there's a bunch of dumbass howling banshees, which are also stupid, that were like sprinting at the Space Marines, and they just looked ridiculous. Just doing this bare-ass sprint. And now imagine this guy doing it with his stupid shoulder guns and his stupid handguns, while also holding a sword with his, dick cape flowing, and his giant, stupid pompadour helmet.
Yeah, I definitely can't see him doing anything other than just like moving slowly forward.
The Eldar are not slow.
No, there aren't. Yeah, yeah, no, that's
He
a
would
very
be like
good point.
cartwheeling and flipping through the air and shit, except he looks like an idiot.
I can see him coming up to like a slightly too short doorway and just like
Yeah,
accidentally
like
hitting his head.
comes onto a human ship to like, I've come to discuss terms with you, Gilliam, and oh shit, my head.
It's just like Spaceballs with Darth
That's
Vader.
helmet.
Yeah, he's always banging his helmet into things. I knew I was surrounded by assholes. I get that, and the more you talk about it, the more bringing me to your side, but he is fine to me still. I am going to be a bit of a simp for the new Eldar, especially, because I do think they're really cool. You're more of a classic Eldar player, so I think you have legitimate opinions. This next guy is Baharoth.
I love Bahara. I think Super Oxygen are really cool. These guys are some of the best of the. Just give the Flyers cool ass wings. They weren't brave enough to do it with Blood Angels, but give them a cool ass wings. Give them a giant sweet gun. Give them a really cool pose. The non-flight stand, flight stand. They killed it with this guy.
Give him a cloaca.
Have poop eggs on people.
Take off that dumbass helmet. Give him one of the Swooping Hawk helmets.
And where are his chicken feet? They gave us Krieg chicken feet. Why didn't they give us chicken feet for Baharoth? They gave us a plume helmet. I think last time we talked about this guy, we kind of pooped on the helmet. I still have the same opinion, but
I agree.
I would swap this, like you said, with one of the head options from the base Swooping Hawks kit. I just don't like the plumage, and I think this is like way too beak-like for me to like it very much. He is a great model, and I think he's very representative of what he is, a Phoenix Lord for the Swooping Hawks. So overall, I think maybe like a 9 out of 10 or a 8 out of 10 for me.
Yep. His only problem is it's 100% fixable. Very good model.
This next guy is Phoenix Lord Fuegan.
What a really cool model. Again, nothing spectacular, but cool axe, great pose, and an amazing banner. One of the better bases.
Mm-hmm.
For a helmeted person, he reads a badass, and also orange is a great color.
Yeah, Fuegan's awesome. One of the big advantages, I think, with Eldar is the fact that Aspect Warriors have their own unique color schemes independent of, like, the army's color scheme, which gives your army a whole lot of visual variety. Fire Dragons are one of the few units that are really cool with this, like, reddish-orange paint scheme. There's not a lot that pulls it off. They do it really well. So you can have, like, the BL tan, white and green, and then you have sweet orange Fire Dragons, and it doesn't look ridiculous.
Yeah, do we really like this guy? Do we really like the Fire Dragons a lot, or do we just love the fact that they have this really dynamic color scheme with really good contrast? And I think it's both, right? This is a cool model. I love the helmet. I think the shoulder pads are great. This weapon is amazing for a big gun. I love the way they did this. And I think in general, he's got enough gubbins that he's not going to be too big of a pain in the butt to paint, but you're still going to have enough to paint to make him look distinct. And this banner is amazing. I love this Fire Dragons logo.
Just flows.
Mm-hmm. The model has really good lines of action through it. The fire pike's diagonal going like his leg.
Like this?
Like it draws the eye really well. Yeah, it's got such clean lines. Like that's part of what I think adds to the pose so well is that it feels like there's conscious thought given to it. Whereas Eldrad was just he's holding his arms out.
Yep, I agree. I think that's a really excellent way of putting it. Is there was a lot of thought that went into the pose here.
10.
Yeah, 9 or 10 for me too. Let's keep trucking. This next model is the Phoenix Lord of the Warp Spiders. This is Lycus, or Lycus, whatever you want to pronounce it. Why don't you kick us off and lick this, Marcus?
This is the coolest model I think Eldar has potentially ever had, and whatever problem I've said I've had, I'm going to say I have with the bases, solved here. Man, that teleport effect, spider jump thing is just beautiful. Everything about it just is beautiful. Great color choices. The carapace doesn't look out of place. Nothing looks bulky.
I think this guy works really well. Last time we talked about him, we talked about just the tail.
It's a girl.
Her.
How dare you?
Last time we talked about her. Yeah, my bad. I have no way of knowing.
Yeah,
that.
like the fingers splayed out like that. It's a little thing, but God, it's so good.
It's so good. This is really amazing. And there's a lot of dynamicness to this that I think would make this silhouette stick out from just looking at this model from anywhere. You can kind of have an amazing silhouette.
Mhm. She is one of the newer Phoenix Lords. She wasn't around back when I started. I think she is incredible. Warp Spiders already are really cool, and this does a good job of turning Warp Spiders up. My only criticism, if I had one, I don't think she should have a sword.
Yeah.
I think that she has enough Warp Spider weapons. I think her holding the sword is kind of just, I wouldn't say it's non-creative, but why does she even need the sword? Let her just have her Warp Spider weapons. Enough guys have swords with the Eldar.
Yeah, I agree with that. This next model, one of Matt's favorites, is Jane Czar. Matt, why don't you tell us why you've fallen in love with this model over the years?
I hate Howling Banshees to begin with. I hate Howling Banshees so much. The whole concept of stupid voice weapons where it's got yell at you and you're like, you're yelling too loud. I'm totally defenseless. And yeah, it's a psychic scream or something, but no, she's yelling at you. It just makes me think of the stupid X-Men first class character who would yell at the ground to fly, and I hate them. And I think he was also called Banshee. And she has a stupid batarang.
Yeah, sorry to all the Banshee fans out there.
I've never liked Howling Banshees. The stupid Dawn of War 2 thing where they did like a slow-mo fast run and then immediately got chainsawed in half by Space Marines because it's like, oh yeah, all they do is yell at you and then Space Marines chop you in half because they're giant 10-foot-tall superhuman. But anyway, this model. The model actually is really cool. Similar to the Fuegan. It's got really cool dynamic action going on. I'm not a big fan of the Howling Banshee aesthetic, but using like the huge ponytail swoop to flow her in the air, she's jumping off of it. The big spear is a unique weapon compared to just a sword. I don't like Howling Banshee faces, but in terms of the model itself, it is very dynamic.
I think the model reads super well. Like I said, if you're going to have a model in motion, it needs to sell it, and this one just sells 100%.
How about this, Matt? What if instead of this pose, she was like diving towards the ground, and then instead of this braid holding her up, there was a cone of sound energy?
Sounding.
And she had like wings under here and like was wearing a hoodie with an X-Men logo on the
I'd buy 10 of them.
front. Yeah, well, you already own this model, Matt. I mean, you paid for it.
I was tricked into it.
Yeah.
I did not condone or accept it in any way.
I think she looked a little bit too much like a Drukhari model. So she's kind of straddling that line between Eldar and like Harlequins and Drukhari. And I think that's kind of where
We don't talk about Harlequins here.
Well, that's my point. Is you hate Harlequins, and I think it being so close to that line between Eldar and Harlequins, it's closer to Harlequins than a lot of other Eldar models are. I think that's one of the reasons you don't like it. This next guy, Morgan Raw.
Smash.
Matt, now that you've seen the rest of
I don't want to talk about them. I don't want to talk about them.
now that you've seen the rest of his Aspect Warriors, do you still like this guy as much as you?
It makes him even cooler because he leads a bunch of loser rejects.
Derpy Lego men.
The derpy Lego man. Malcolm Raw is awesome. He's the bone zone. There's that one South Park episode where Satan throws the Sweet 16 party. And he's like, no one dressed as the Crow. It's really lame. No one do it. And then he's like, oh man, everyone's going to love the Crow costume. It's going to be so cool. And that's this guy. He's the guy that wants to dress up as the Crow. He completely doesn't fit the Eldar aesthetic. That's because he's his own man. He's a loner. He lives life on the edge. He doesn't trust anyone.
But clearly he came from a good family. He was well loved. That's not a real skeleton. That's clearly styrofoam.
Yeah, his parents paid for it.
The blade at the end of his gun is it's wood. He made it in shop glass.
He's typing an edgy comment into YouTube as we speak, and his mom comes, Mom! Honey, we're going to the mall. Do you want anything from Hot Topic? Yes!
Yeah. No, I'm going myself. You pick the right one.
Hold on, I'll come with you.
I love Bogan Raw. Like, he has a giant Death Scythe automatic rocket launcher gun. He has a tattered, edgy cape with a hood up.
He is cool. He's maybe a bit too far for me. Like,
I agree to some extent. Like, I don't really like this giant bone helmet. I feel like it could have been. This model could have been much improved by the removal of this. The rest of it I do like. I think this could be described away as like being a wraithbone protrusion that gives him armor or something. I think the skull motif on the helmet or on the top of this is kind of stupid. I think this is stupid. I wish this was the only skull and this was the only skull.
Yeah, his codpiece.
Yeah, and the rest of it was toned down a little bit. But aside from that, I do like the model a lot. you talk about dynamic posing and sharp lines throughout the design, and this guy does the X better than anybody.
Yeah.
I'm on board with Morgan Ra. I think he is ridiculous, and he does tone it up. So next is the Autarchs. I put both the winged Autarch on the right and the Autarch on the left.
Just a solid captain model. Like, that's what the role is. A great kit, like a lot of customizable options. I love the idea of like your captain being customizable, not having to buy a separate captain to lead a separate group of troops. Switch his gun out, put a little work into it. It reads well. Just again, this is where all the cool Eldar tech really just makes just a nice captain model just better because he has cool stuff.
It's such a cool design. This guy is kind of like the elite guardian, you know. He's not a farseer, he's not a wizard guy. He looks like a soldier for the Eldar, and he does it so well. Like, I like the guy on the left of the Reaper launcher. Just a fantastic model all around.
Yeah, I don't think he's too fancy. I don't think he's on the other end of that spectrum of being not fancy enough. The only thing, and I think this has been true for a lot of the models in this range, is that the base is pretty bland. Tactical rocks in both cases. I don't necessarily hate the model as a result of that, but I just think that's an area where you could improve. If you're modeling this up, maybe making the base match your rest of your army, you can go a little bit above and beyond with these rocks. But very cool. Definitely like the models. Definitely think they did an excellent job on them. This next group here, this is the Farseer and the Spirit Seer.
Yeah, these guys are old faithful. I think these are still really good. You can kind of see now comparing Eldrad to the Farseer. What I meant by Eldrad just kind of feels just a slightly fancier Farseer. And part of that's because the Farseer already looks really good. I think this is one of the cooler, like, robed psychic ones. I think this is way better than Librarian. I think they have just the right mix of stuff on them to make them, they're important, but it doesn't go too far. It's still got the classic Eldar design. I really like these guys.
I think they read really well what they do. They're simple. They don't need to be too much. They're not named characters. They're just leading squad, but they're going to stand out in whatever they lead.
Yeah, I like that the Spirit Seer has a helmet that sort of matches the Wraith aesthetic. I guess this guy is for Wraiths.
Yeah, that is cool.
The one thing I'll mention is that it's going to be difficult to paint the inside of these cloaks. If I am doing a scheme on this guy, I might just go base color on the whole cloak, on the outer cloak, and then the other color that I'm using for my army on the inner cloak, and then just ignore the fact that there's this beige color on the inside.
Okay, you're going to have to ask someone to pick up the model and look at the base, because no one's really going to pick up your Farseer too often.
Yeah.
Like, you really have to ask people to pick up that and look at the under their side of their cape.
He's going to be behind a wall most of the game, right? Part of a unit or something.
So it'll be behind a wall or dying so you race it harder.
Yeah, but I think overall these two kits are checking boxes, and I think they both do it well. These kits, I believe, are from the newest range refresh, and it kind of shows.
They read pretty well. They're different enough. You might have some issue of people being able to tell like what's different from a Farseer and a Warlock, but in reality, there's enough differences. Cool helmet. Like, I really like those helmets. They're essentially psychic lieutenants, support characters. So again, you're not going to see them all the time, but yeah, do the job, read well, cool weapon, cool helmet, good model.
I like the idea of subscribing of Farseers should have spears, Warlocks should have swords. I think that's a nice visual way to distinguish them, and I think the singing spear is like very iconic for the Farseer. Warlocks are really cool. These guys are awesome. They're way better than the old Warlocks. Yeah. They have just a cool mix of armor and like they're kind of long, more like a long coat than a robe for this guy.
To me, this reads more like a militaristic kind of officer's uniform versus the Spirit Seer, which is more of a like a wizard's robe or a Farseer, the same story. One of the things I wish they kind of did, maybe this wouldn't match the lore again, but what if they had the torso just being Guardian armor, and then this lower half was the bottom half of the robe?
Yeah, I wouldn't hate it.
Maybe that would help distinguish it more as like, this is the warrior one. I agree with what Marcus was saying, where it might be difficult to tell the difference between these and like a Farseer or a Spirit Seer, unless you know the range. I still think it's fine, and I still think it's good. We're going to get into the basic infantry now, and the aspect warriors. On the left we have the Storm Guardians, and on the right we have the Guardian Defenders. These are the baseline troops for Eldar.
I love Guardians. These are what, when I was a kid, made me fall in love with the Eldar more than anything, was just the Guardian, like, on the Codex, was just so cool looking. I think these guys have amazing armor. This is the Eldar look, and it is iconic. Even if it's all painted one color, it sticks out well. You can then add to it more if you want. I think their guns are awesome because they're unique. I don't like them having chain swords. That's been a rules thing for a long time, but I don't like that they have chain swords. I don't think it really makes sense.
That very much harkens back to anyone could take the same weapons back in the day.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad because Storm Guardians are the one you're going to take. They're sticky objectives. But for what is probably the cheapest per model unit, they are super cool. I think we are in the days of like your trash units don't have to look like shit. If you guys don't, they look awesome. Preferably build the ones with the guns, but you're probably getting them so you can build the one unit of Storm Guardians for your army. But at the same time, it's pretty cool. They shouldn't have chain swords, but they actually have great motion. They got good poses, you got the Aethors, you got the special weapons in there, you got the cool heavy weapon platform. They read really well.
Yeah, this guy's pelvic thrusting. I think that's great. He should be grasping his butt cheeks, though.
Preferably with like a Michael Jackson glove.
Yeah, and going, Shimona! No one gets that reference, but that one of Matt's models that we rescued was specifically had to be that guy, so.
MJ.
MJ, yeah. No, I think the Guardians are great for all the reasons you guys mentioned, but I'll just add that they're really easy to paint. Getting this armor up to a combat-ready standard or about a tabletop-ready standard is pretty easy. Just do a base coat, wash, and dry brush, and you're basically done. Paint the helmets a different color, do the doodads in a different color, and you're there. And they look fine. They look good, even. I would put helmets on all these guys. I wouldn't want to do any of this face painting or anything like that. And to be honest with you, they're Guardians. They don't need personality. They just need to they need to look like a unit, and they need to be picked up off the table when they die. This is our first aspect warrior, the Blades of Cain, aka the Striking Scorpions.
AK buy now, FOMO. Get it before it rotates out.
Yeah, this is something I was confused by last time. Are these striking scorpions, or are they a variant of striking scorpion?
This is what is the Striking Scorpion in this codex. I don't know why they're not just called Striking Scorpions. I guess that's just a thing they've been doing for the Kill Team boxes. These are Kill Team boxes. Hopefully you can get them because they're super good in the game. They're pretty samey. The Exarch's super cool. The Exarchs are the sergeants in the squad. Like, I think he looks great. He has a cool weapon. It makes a little more sense he'd have a chainsword. Everyone else is kind of just... It's not bad. I think it's a good model. It's just not amazing.
Striking Scorpions fell into this problem for me that I've always had with Eldar, where it feels like there might be one aspect warrior too many. Striking Scorpions are guys with swords, but their helmets have a face gun. And then Howling Banshees are girls with swords, but their helmet has a voice gun. And then Dire Avengers are guys with swords, but also they can have a gun.
The Dire Avengers have kind of become more just Guardians, but their gun is slightly better. Like,
yeah.
Too many is probably the right call. And they kind of like, oh, these guys are your infiltrate scout unit. I'm like, well, what are Rangers then? They're coaching on too many things that have a role. I'm fine with them existing. It's just
it's not bad to have a choice, but it's also, you compare these guys to Warp Spiders, or the Fire Dragons, or Dark Reapers even, and they don't have as strong of an identity.
Yeah, make them more unique. Make this the weapon they take. Don't give them chainswords. Give them this sweet gauntlet. Give it rules similar to a power fist, and then have a pistol in the other hand.
Well, it's because their weapon is the face guns.
Why not both?
But it should be something else. The face guns aren't distinctive enough. They're really small.
Face guns don't make any goddamn sense. I don't know why this is a thing.
You're right. It should be a dick gun.
Okay, give them a... Yeah. No, it should not be either of those things. But something different. I agree with you 100%, Matt. I don't think they're distinct enough. They're great models. Don't get me wrong. And I love their color scheme. But I just think they're not unique enough. And also, Blades of Cain versus Striking Scorpions. Like, I don't know who decided to do that specifically, but... They should be punched. They should be smacked over the head with a face gun.
Is it that Striking Scorpions got renamed, or is that this is
a special Striking Scorpion?
Yeah.
I have no idea. It's probably they're a special Striking Scorpion.
I think it's that, but this is the kit, so this is your Striking Scorpions.
Mm-hmm.
In the book, I bet they're just called Striking Scorpions, and then on the website, you buy them as Blades of Cain.
Yeah. Why the added complexity? Why'd they do that? That's the problem I think we're having with it. And it doesn't make any sense. It grates against my sense of cohesion. And also, Striking Scorpions should be more distinct. The thing about them shouldn't be that they have face guns. It should be face guns and something else. And chainswords for Eldar are dumb. I think that, I mean, does that sum it up?
Yeah, pretty much.
They should be the heavy hitters. Like, Howling Banshees are the finesse skill. Like, these guys should be ripping armor apart and punching tanks to death.
That'd be awesome.
Having a giant dick gun and like curls behind them as like a scorpion tail, and then
Yeah. No, not actually that. But what I said about this being like a power fist, what if they were armed with what if they were armed with two of these and then they had the face gun. One in each hand, and then the face gun.
And they were giant, crawling scorpion mechs.
Right. Their own transport that only they can get into.
All right, good. I guess we'll just move on then. Since we're not taking this seriously. All right. Do you have anything actually to add about that? About the striking scorpions?
So belt fed dick gun.
Okay. This next kit here is the Rangers. I think the Rangers are very cool. I think this is one of the best and well executed stealth scout units that GW has done. I think everything about these guys nails what they're trying to achieve, and I love them.
Well, to be fair, striking scorpions are also supposed to be your stealthy strike from the shadows guys. If that didn't read well,
No, it didn't. That didn't read well at all.
Exactly. Only I know that because I read the rules.
What a slam dunk of a unit. This is one of the times where I'd say, like, this legitimately might be a perfect model.
Yep.
Everything syncs up. The aesthetic matches the function. They're so badass. You can do a ton of different paint schemes. You know, the brown one looks just as cool as, like, the green coats. The hood on looks cool. The hood off looks cool. Even the helmet off still looks cool. Like, I like it better with the helmet and hood, but it still looks pretty cool.
Yeah, downtown.
I do prefer the helmet looks. I think there's more mystique to these guys.
I agree. But I think Eldar helmets in general are so cool that even if the head looks good, it would still look cooler with the helmet.
Yeah. Is there anything more to be said? I mean, we love them.
Love them.
This next kit's one that I really do like, but I think you guys probably have negative opinions on.
I had Dark Reapers as a kid, and they were one of my favorites. And looking back, the old models really aren't actually much different or much better, but once you make them bigger and stand out more, I don't like these guys. I think there's a lot of questionable choices going on here. I think the dumb bat wings next to their helmet is not helping matters. The skull is like a Lego head. It's so smooth and cartoonish. Yeah, Morgan Raw, we joked about had too many skulls, but at least he was cool. The colors, I think, really do not match. I don't know why they have these maroonish, reddish guns, teal or bright purple. None of those are very good color complements for it. I think they should just have white guns, like make it the bone white. The poses are alright, I guess. Compared to the Rangers, these guys are supposed to be heavy weapon support specialists. They should be cool. I don't get it.
Yeah, I think the helmet really just throws off the entirety of the model. Don't hate the armor. I think it's nice, semi-unique. The Todd pouch.
Pouch.
You didn't want to say dick sleeve? I'm trying to, just children are watching this, you son of a bitch.
Dick sleeve would not be any better.
No, that seems pretty good.
Oh, cod pouch.
These cod cozies just aren't really doing it.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a shame, because I think I can look away from the helmets now, because we saw them for the first time yesterday. I actually haven't seen the new models, but the helmet just takes away from what's actually cool in the model, and the paint isn't doing it. It's not bad colors, like I said, they just don't work well together. For the first time, don't put the helmet on.
Yeah, the guy without the helmet is actually kind of cool.
Yeah, for the love of God, don't put the Hot Topic hoodie over them. Jesus Christ, what is that? It's a shame that you have to kind of do some work to make these guys cool, but we'll say a lot of time in faces and bases, the faces ruin these models.
When we talked about this yesterday, one of my suggestions was just green stuffing over these indents in the helmet just to make this whole helmet that bone color. Doing this gun in bone color. I feel like this, honestly, would have been a better direction for them to go for the whole model. I know you just made fun of this Hot Topic helmet, but if this Hot Topic helmet was a robe like Morgan Raw has, I don't know if that would be better or worse. It's tough to say. I do like these models. I think they're very good from the perspective of uniqueness again, but I understand everything you guys are saying too. And these helmets are way too Lego-y. This looks ridiculous. When these models came out, people I think they immediately just shit on the Lego-ness of the helmets. And if you can fix that, get over this with green stuff and just make this one solid blocked off bone white color, I think might help. And then if you do this gun in a different way.
They have like the one big shoulder spike sticking out, but why? It doesn't feel like they thought these models through. Like, I know the old models had that long strap going down them, but once you make them bigger and you make it really stand out,
Why?
What's it for?
Mm-hmm.
Why do they just have one of their two shoulder spikes? Why do they have bat wings?
I just noticed this too. This is the same model.
Oh, yeah.
This feels a lot. I mean, it came out the same time too, around the same time as the Devastators.
Oh, the Rock'em Sock'em
Yeah, they also
sugar guns.
It also had
The worst
twins.
model ever made.
Yeah, it came out at the same time as that, so I wonder if this was just rushed. I don't hate them as much as you guys do. I think they're fine, but yeah. All right, let's keep moving. This next kit are the Dire Avengers.
These guys are kind of, as Assman is the Phoenix Lords, these guys are the Aspect Warriors. They're fine. They're good. Well, I should say, they were good back then. They're not new. They're a little squat now, but they're not, like, awful. They've got the better Guardian look to them. They've got their big dumb pompadours. I like the color scheme of the blue, white, and yellow for these guys. They could definitely go for a better proportioned model.
They have what they need to be cool. Make their pompadours not so roughly looking. Give them the proper helmet. You can make them cool. They just need an update. They're not awful for old models. It's just we've been. I'm sure that's the paint job, but man, the face on that middle guy on the left, it is not right.
Elgrad, do you love me?
But we're spoiled now. Like, there's nothing wrong with these models. There just isn't anything amazing about them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that. They have ridiculous helmets, kind of like that about them. I think they're cool, but yeah, they are showing their age a bit now that we've seen better. This next kit is the Fire Dragons.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's a very simple squad. Nothing wrong with them in any way. And then you have, I think a lot of it is that Exarch is really kind of kicking it up. Cool pose, pointing a gun in the air, but at the same time, it's just resting it.
Their helmets are just different enough. It's a Fire Dragon helmet, but it's still an Eldar helmet, which I think the Dark Reapers fail at. They don't look like an Eldar helmet. They just look like stupid Lego heads. These are Eldar helmets. They're kind of big like the Dire Avengers. They have the fangs, I guess, horns, whatever dragons have.
Tusks.
Tusk? Question mark.
I don't know.
Mountains of gold.
Yeah, it is a good
Snow.
idea to do these bases with just mountains of gold. I think that would really.
That is a thing. I would maybe go for something a bit more exciting than just dirt with a bit of grass on it.
They kind of failed on all the bases. There's no reason these bases should not be on fire.
Make that grass burning. Set your model on fire for the extra realism.
Yeah, I don't know how much of these models is good model and how much of it is just iconic paint scheme. I do love the orange. I love the yellow. I love the red.
I'd say it's both.
They do have, like you said, unique helmets that are fit the design language and don't look stupid. The fire pikes are probably my favorite weapons in all of Eldar. Like, these are so, so cool. I wish they all had fire pikes. 10 out of 10.
Nah, 10.
11 out of 10. Fuck you.
Now, let's get into the best Aspect Warrior. Matt's favorite of all of the Aspect Warriors, the Howling Banshees. We already talked about how they could do this in a more dynamic way, Matt, by having like a flying base that's a guy screaming at the ground. But what else do you really like about these models?
Well, I think another way you can improve it is by instead of making it like a voice yeller, you put it on their butt and they could have like thunderclap farts that like blast across the battlefield. I think that would really improve them. And you make them the brapping banshees
They're running backwards.
that unleash mighty thunder braps.
Yeah.
And that's what I think about these models. I think the models themselves are actually way cooler than Jane's are because they don't have a stupid Banshee face. They have Eldar helmets that look like Eldar helmets. The Exarch is actually pretty sweet with the whole dual sword thing. That makes her very unique. The other guys are just guys with swords, but the fact that she has two and is in a cool pose does actually help out a lot.
I don't think these guys sell motion to me nearly as well as Jane's R does. I can see
That
your
is
point about the faces. They're not too much. What Jane's R has is she doesn't have too much extra. Like, her hair is a lot. Like, that's the centerpiece of the model. But and the face is maybe a little goofy, but she doesn't have a lot of extra bits. I almost wish they didn't have pistols. I almost don't like their holsters, the little blade veins on the sides of them. It feels like it slows them down, and it doesn't feel like through these ultra fast on foot acrobatic. It's not bad pose. I actually do quite like the poses.
I see what you mean. Yeah, it's kind of busy.
As an aspect world, it's a very niche thing they do. They're just best in class at it. I like it a lot. I like what their role in the game. They're just too busy on models.
Maybe like dueling swords would be better for the overall kit.
I'd say more swords. The pistols, like, this whole thing of models having to have a ranged weapon and a sword is such a harken back. At times, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it makes sense for orcs because they think they need to have that. I guess Marines have that because Eldar doesn't need to keep doing it. A lot of these models are held back, but we need to have a pistol or they need to have chainswords. Just make the change. At least these guys don't have dumb chainswords. Like, the cool curved Banshee blades are cool.
Yeah. I really like them. I think they're awesome. I can't put into words why I like them so much, but I do think they're really cool. I get the part where you're saying, though, where they're too busy. I think that's definitely true. The motion part of it, too, I think is also true.
These old or are these new?
Pretty new.
They're 9th
Okay.
edition.
Okay.
Yeah, you own them, Matt.
Oh, yeah, because the Janes are.
Yeah, that was the same box. It came out in the Battle Force.
They're not
box.
part of like the new refresh. Like, was like a
No.
bidding.
No. Yeah, it came out around the same time that the Drukari Codex came out in 9th
Yeah.
edition, so it would have been 2021. All right, well, let's keep moving. This next is the Swooping Hawks.
Smash.
Now that we are away from flying bases and have much cooler rock bases, I think they sell motion pretty well. You can't do horribly huge combat poses flying from the sky because they're shooting units. It is a massive upgrade, and it is a very cool flight model. Much better helmets than Harvey Birdman.
I think they have one of the best things with their aspects, or with their Phoenix Lord, where it's like Baharth and the Swooping Hawks. The wings completely make the model, and they knock it out of the park. These are some of the best wings in the whole game. They still have the sweet Eldar armor, very cool paint schemes. I like these guys' helmets way more than Baharth. This Exarch does not stand out as much. If you covered up their arms, I couldn't tell you which one was the Exarch. It took me like a minute looking to see, oh, that guy has a sword.
If you really look, he has slightly different wings. I think his helmet is maybe slightly different, but that just isn't quite enough.
So I think he should probably actually have 10 wings and be a biblically accurate angel and a giant ring of eyes.
Yeah, that would be pretty terrible.
That would be perfect.
One thing they could have done is they could have had a quad wing, where they had wings coming down behind him too.
Mm-hmm.
That might have helped, but I don't know if that would have looked stupid or not. If you've ever seen the Corvus Cabal models from Warcry, they have taloned feet. I think taloned feet would have been pretty sweet, like lightning claw feet.
What
Things
about
that...
chain sword feet?
Yeah, no. No, I don't. No. To your point, I think the wings are really cool. They're sci-fi enough, but they're also bird wings.
I don't know if they still do it, but their grenade pack was like a lot of what they were in 7th edition. They had little blast templates when they came down. I think that could really sell these models a lot. I think any shortcoming, like if they had a cool explosion base, like they're peppering the ground before they land, would be awesome.
And I don't think you need to fix these. Like, I like them a lot.
No.
I don't. Those are just minor things that I would maybe think about. But this helmet I don't like as much as I like these helmets. And I think this guy's head sort of sucks. I don't. For some reason, I don't like this very much.
Well, they have pretty cool helmets, so there's no real reason to fix them too much. Yep, I'd say an 8, but like still really, really good.
Yeah, I'd say like a 69 out of 10. No, you guys didn't like that one?
No.
Okay. All right, let's keep it. Let's keep. Yeah. All right. This next kit is the Warp Spiders.
I love warp fighters. I think they're some of the most unique of the aspect warriors. They're like the whole carapace stuff with the kind of more bald helmet. It looks so cool. They've got really great weapons. And the Exarch does, I think, stand out quite well with his like extra fighter arm guns, like Dr. Octopus.
They look very alien. I think that's a problem a lot of the time. Just like that could be a human in that armor. These don't at all look human. I don't love them, but what they do well is look alien and have very unique stuff. Just give them cooler bases, and I think make them a 10. I want something else.
At the one end of the spectrum is the expectation of a model, and then at the other end of the spectrum is something you don't want to see at all. And I think these guys are exactly what I'd expect from Warp Spiders, and I think they do a very good job of representing what a Warp Spider is. This giant carapace on the back, to me, if I saw this unit on the battlefield and I saw a bunch of these triangular carapaces from like 4 or 5 feet away, I'm like, those are the Warp Spiders. That's really easy for me to identify from a distance. And then I get closer and I see a lot of the little details. This mandible and rebreather aesthetic, that's consistent across the Warp Spiders between them and their Aspect Lord, and I love that. And then the guns are really cool too. I love the overall aesthetic of Eldar guns. I think they're really alien, but also have enough realistic tie to make them make sense to us as people. These are another example of that. They're not a standout example of that, but they're just a different version of something that is very believable and interesting. And whoever painted this did an amazing job. I imagine these took a lot of time to paint. The one thing I'll say is like these might be a little bit too derpy, like they're slightly too big maybe for my taste, but it's not enough for me to not think these are like a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. I love these models.
Yeah, I'm critical of a lot of Eldar stuff, but just like been spoiled that the stuff that characters lead can often be as cool as they are. The problem is their Exarch is one of the coolest models ever made. I think that's where I'm coming from. It's not fair.
Yeah, that's true.
Give me the Warp Spider Dreadnought. Come on.
Give us Warp Spider Wraith Knights or Wraith Lords or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
All right. And I think that's the end of part 1, guys. So we'll be back next week with part 2 of the Eldar range review. I think we'll save our closing thoughts for the end of that video. But this has been Armies on Parade. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you had as much fun as we did. Remember to like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And hey, get in those comments, guys. If you haven't commented on any of our videos, which you probably haven't, because we've gotten, I think, one legitimate comment. Get down in the comments. We'd love to hear from you guys. Love to hear your opinions on the models as well. Thanks again. Until next time. Bye.